680 News is doing a project for Black History Month, and we're doing it on Builders of the GTA, which focuses on people of the Black community who have helped make this place home for all of us and continue to help build the GTA. So I chose you, Jamaal Magloire, because of your Canadian basketball history. So how does it feel to be the first Canadian to ever play for the Toronto Raptors? What was that experience like?
Well, it was definitely one of the highlights of my career. Being able to be the first Canadian to play on the Canadian team was definitely a great feat for me. I've always dreamt that one day I'd have the opportunity to play with the Toronto Raptors, and to do that in my final year of my career was definitely a blessing. You know, this thing has taken a 360-degree turn. You know, I left when I was 18 years old. I went to the University of Kentucky, and I lived in the United States the majority of my career, and I was able to come home and play my final year here. It was good. You know, it led to an opportunity to coach and help coach these young guys in the city that I've grown up loving and knowing, and, you know, the rest is history. I started with the organization in 2011, and now we're in 2021, so, you know, it's been a cool decade with them. I hope, you know, I can continue to help this team and help this organization grow.
As well as you were the second recorded Canadian to ever play in the NBA AllStar Game. So what was that experience like for you, especially knowing that basketball is a Canadian-invented sport?
Definitely another notch on the belt, a great feat, and played with and against the best players in the world is something that doesn't happen too often. And, you know, coming from Toronto, I felt very honored, very humbled. The reason being is because coming from humble beginnings in Toronto and, you know, being able to play with and against the best players in the world at that time, definitely a great accolade of mine. I was also fortunate enough to coach the NBA AllStar Game twice. You know, once with Coach Casey, being on his staff representing Toronto, and then once with Coach Nurse representing Toronto. So I've not only been able to play in the NBA AllStar Game, I've been able to coach too.
Not only do you hold a lot of Canadian basketball history, but you hold a lot of Canadian Black history. So what advice do you have for our young and upcoming builders of Canada?
I would say to dream big, never let anyone offset your goals. I grew up really fast. I was tall. I was always the biggest kid in class. But, you know, some points when I was young, I was uncoordinated. And if I left it up to my peers, you know, I may not be playing or coaching in the NBA now. You know, kids would be kids. They're very negative. I just had to continue to persevere. I wouldn't take no for an answer and use the naysayers and the negative comments as motivation to prove them wrong. And I use my parents as motivation too, you know, seeing my mom and dad every day wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, cook before going to work. I use that as motivation to one day not have my mother and my father work. So whenever they would say no, I would turn that into a positive and, you know, use that to my advantage.
So with this project, we want to showcase and tell the stories of members of the Black community who help make this place home for all of us. So with that, how important and what do you have to say on the importance of our Black community, our Black history, and setting a foundation?
Well, I think it's all very imperative, especially now in this day and age that we're still dealing with racism and social injustices. I think we have to speak up for ourselves. We have to represent ourselves in the best light, and we have to work together. We have this mentality in Canada sometimes that it's everyone for themselves. Not one person could do it. You need to have goals and plans that will help everybody succeed. And then the more hands and the more ideas and the more people we have in our corner supporting us is the further we'll get. So I think there's only a few moments in time that we're able to make change. And I think with racism and social injustice, now is that time. So we got to take advantage of it and do as much as we can. There's no ceiling or there's no, you know, minimal effort you could give, you know, whatever you could do. Don't be satisfied, but don't think that your voice is not heard or your ideas or you can't contribute financially that therefore you can't support. There's so many other ways that you can support. Everybody nowadays with social media has a platform. We just can't let up. We got to continue to push and fight for our rights and for equality, because if we don't, it could only get worse.
Now, my final question, tell us a little about your historical journey. Anything that you have not mentioned, anything that you are part of and want to share?
I'm the community ambassador for the Toronto Raptors, so we're always engaged in the community and engaged in, you know, trying to make Toronto and the surrounding areas a better place. On top of that, I run the Jamaal Magloire Foundation, which helps kids have an opportunity to go to college, and just being out there every day, trying to do what I can, lending my voice, lending my, image to try and help our communities grow and flourish is what I'm about. For more information on what I do, you could go onto my website, JamaalMagloireFoundation.com, and you can see all the initiatives that we do and that we're going to continue to do, because, like I said, I'm one person, and sometimes I feel like what I'm doing isn't enough, but I can't think that. I got to continue to do what I can, and if everybody has that same mindset, a little bit here, a little bit there, a lot here, a lot there, will help our initiatives and help our goals in the long run. So that, like I said, there's no little that you could do, and there's no much that you can't do. Just got to continue to try and keep the conversation going and keep righteous, because if we don't look out for ourselves and each other, nobody else is going to. So we have to start the ball and get that ball rolling, leading by example and doing it for ourselves.
Thank you so much again, Jamaal, for everything.